So why not just eliminate the tariffs between Canada and the United States? Is that a place that we can get to? Because I mean, it's mind-boggling. Like 25%. No, it's going to be 50%. No, we're back to 25%.
That Fox Canada would like that, but Fox
I'm
USA.
just asking the question. What?
As the painful and unnecessary Trump trade war continues to devastate the American economy, a very fed-up MAGA Fox News host confronted Donald Trump's Commerce Secretary, Howard Lutnick, about Trump's policies in a heated back and forth that you have to see. But before we unpack all that, if you end up liking this video and you want to support the channel, please be sure to hit the like, subscribe, and alert bells before you go. All right, friends, got a clip to look at here and an article as well, but I want to start with the clip first. So Howard Lutnick is Trump's Commerce Secretary. This guy has basically been Trump's point man on all of the talk shows, all of the media channels trying to make the case that tariffs and trade wars are actually good and Donald Trump is a genius. And he's having a hard time making that case credibly, even to a MAGA Fox News host, Martha MacCallum, who's always been inclined to grade Trump on a curve. So we're going to play this clip and unpack it together.
Saying that Americans are going to pay more and that Canada is one of our most important trading partners, which, has always been the case.
So you have to remember, Canada exists leaning on our economy. I mean, let's face it, cars used to be made in America. Why did Michigan's cars move to Canada to break out of the UAW? I mean, that's just unfair to American workers and American union workers. It's just, you finally have Donald Trump's got their back and is wondering why are cars made in Canada? Why are we doing all this business in Canada if they're not respectful, if they're not thankful, and they don't want to do it? Imagine a provincial leader, so like the equivalent of a governor, deciding that they're going to attack America and put a 25% increase on energy prices to teach Donald Trump a lesson. I guess what happened? He learned a lesson. We're going to come in and talk, but what should you expect? You should expect exactly what you heard President Trump said today. What are you doing for us? I know what we're doing for you, but what are you doing for us? And I think that's the right way to look at it. That's our president's way of looking at it, and that's what you should expect.
So why not just eliminate the tariffs between Canada and the United States? Is that a place that we can get to? Because I mean, it's mind-boggling. Like 25%. No, it's going to be 50%. No, we're back to 25%.
That would
why
be
not
true
just
if this was
eliminate all the
Fox.
tariffs?
That would be true if you were Fox Canada. That Fox Canada would like that, but Fox
I'm just
USA.
asking the question. So I heard President Trump moments ago say $200 million we send in aid essentially to Canada. So are we going to eliminate that? I mean, tell me what the starting points are. That's what I want to know.
The starting point is we care about America first. We care about American workers first, and we want to bring back those jobs to America. So we're going to bring back more and more jobs to America. We don't want to buy 60% of our aluminum from Canada. We want to bring it to America. We want the cars to America. We want to make America great first. Then we can worry about Canada, and that's the message. America first, then we worry about Canada.
So again, you could see that Martha MacCallum, who we've discussed in previous videos, again, not a centrist, not a moderate, not a nonpartisan, somebody who sits pretty squarely in Donald Trump's camp, getting pretty fed up with Howard Lutnick and by extension Donald Trump, because ultimately he's the source of these ridiculous, back and forth, hot, cold, unpredictable, inconsistent policies, which is wreaking havoc on the American economy. Love to see it. Would like to see more pushback, as a matter of fact. CNN Business has a pretty good article, though, how Trump's trade war could quickly spiral out of control, with some pretty concrete examples. It started with tariffs, but the trade war is quickly escalating beyond import taxes into a broader tit-for-tat battle. Trump's 25% tariffs on Canada offended leaders there to the point that Ontario fired back by yanking American booze from store shelves. Ontario Premier Doug Ford even threatened to slap a surcharge on or even pull the plug on electricity sent to 3 U.S. states, raising the specter of power bill spikes or even blackouts. That angered Trump so much that he briefly vowed to hit all U.S. imports of Canadian steel and aluminum with 50% tariffs before cooler heads prevailed. But on Thursday, Trump told reporters, quote, "I'm not going to bend at all," end quote, on Canadian aluminum, steel, and auto tariffs. His remarks came just hours ahead of a meeting between U.S. and Canadian officials on trade. That meeting was, quote, very, very productive, Ford told reporters after it ended, adding that he felt, quote, that the temperature is being lowered. Ford said he had plans to meet again with U.S. Commerce Secretary Howard Lutnick next week, that same Howard Lutnick that we just saw in the video. Meanwhile, Canada has requested consultation with the World Trade Organization over U.S. tariffs on steel and aluminum, the WTO said in a statement on Thursday. Canada claims the tariffs violate trade rules. It's easy to see how this trade war can quickly get out of hand. If world leaders aren't careful, they can get stuck in an escalatory cycle that's hard to escape. Quote, this game has exploded into other areas, said Mary Lovely, senior fellow at the Peterson Institute for International Economics. Of course I will respond. It's not just the U.S.-Canada trade fight. China responded to Trump's initial 10% tariff hike in February by announcing retaliatory tariffs, as well as new export controls, and by adding Calvin Klein owner PVH Group to a government blacklist. The European Union on Wednesday fired back at Trump's steel and aluminum tariffs by taking aim at American jeans, boats, and whiskey, much to the dismay of U.S. liquor industry. Asked about the retaliatory EU tariffs, Trump said, "Of course I will respond," and then he did. Trump on Thursday threatened a massive tariff, 200% on wine, champagne, and other European alcohol. In other words, Trump has retaliated against the EU's retaliation to Trump's tariffs. What if the EU retaliates to that? Tariffs are Trump's Windex. The trade war escalation has alarmed investors, CEOs, and economists, not to mention a growing chunk of the American public. Quote, is this going to spiral out of control? Kent Smetters, faculty director of the nonpartisan Penn-Wharton model, told CNN in an interview, and I'll remind you that Donald Trump is an alumni of Penn-Wharton. Smetters, a professor at the University of Pennsylvania's Wharton School, where Trump graduated from, now thinks it's a toss-up whether the U.S. economy stumbles into a recession this year. The broadening out of the trade war was somewhat predictable. After all, Trump is applying tariffs, a trade tool, to areas unrelated to trade, such as immigration, fentanyl, and protecting the dominance of the U.S. dollar. Trump has even floated the use of tariffs to pressure Russia into a peace deal. Quote, this is Donald Trump's Windex. He sprays it on everything, Lovely said, likening the president's love of tariffs to the dad in My Big Fat Greek Wedding, who thinks Windex can solve any problem. Quote, any restraint we've had over commercial policy staying in the commercial policy lane is gone. But I do have to say that in this case, the U.S. started it. Trade war could heat up further. And Trump has signaled that he's not ending it anytime soon. Despite growing pushback from Wall Street, Trump has threatened a wide range of additional tariffs, including reciprocal tariffs scheduled for April 2nd. Those looming tariffs, if they move forward, could trigger further retaliation. And by the way, those would be against any country on earth that has any sort of tariff against the U.S. The last few weeks have reminded us that trade is emotional. Countries can take things personally, and there are big personalities involved these days, said Christine McDaniel, senior research fellow at George Mason University's Mercatus Center and former trade official under President George W. Bush. Ford, the Canadian politician who threatened to shut off U.S. electricity and briefly slapped a 25% surcharge on electricity exports, has emerged as a particularly vocal opponent of Trump's trade policy. Mexican President Claudia Sheinbaum, on the other hand, has taken a different approach. Sheinbaum said Wednesday that her country would wait until April 2nd before responding to Trump's tariffs. All of this is just adding to the uncertainty facing investors and business leaders. Quote, human behavior is very difficult to model and predict. Trade economists had it pretty easy for 30 years, but we don't have models for this new world, said McDaniel. The alarm in the C-suite. There is a growing concern in corporate America about the fallout of the trade war. The Business Roundtable said Wednesday that its CEO Economic Outlook Index has dimmed and CEOs have cut their plans to hire and invest. The vast majority, 85% of CEOs, oppose Trump's approach to trade, according to a straw poll of roughly 100 major U.S. CEOs at the Yale Chief Executive Leadership Institute CEO Caucus. The Yale event, held in Washington on Tuesday and featuring the CEOs of J.P. Morgan Chase, Pfizer, American Airlines, and other firms, revealed that 94% of CEOs polled are worried tariffs will be inflationary, and 85% believe that Trump's tariffs are backfiring. Yikes. Jeffrey Sonnenfeld, founder of the Yale Chief Executive Leadership Institute, told CNN that business leaders universally believe there are legitimate reasons to apply tariffs selectively. But Sonnenfeld said CEOs are, quote, angry over the shifting justifications offered by the administration for Trump's tariffs. Quote, the broad sweeping assault on allies instead of adversarial and rival nations has CEOs dismayed and embarrassed, Sonnenfeld said in an email. And it goes on like this, folks. We could keep reading for forever. But this is why even a MAGA Fox News host like Martha MacCallum is so pissed and fed up with this inconsistent trade policy, because she sees no benefit, rightly, even though she desperately wants to. And Howard Lutnick and Donald Trump are not making it any easier to believe that sort of thing. So we'll see what happens in the future. I imagine if tariffs keep going, Fox is going to increasingly call it out. Its sister publication, the Wall Street Journal, is on Trump's ass every day about this disastrous policy, but he refuses to relent. In the meantime, let me know what you think in the comments.